everyone. Welcome to the 353rd episode of the Internet of Things podcast. This is your host, Stacey Higginbotham, and your co-host,
Kevin Toffel.
And we have an awesome show ready for you. Normally, I don't even know what's normal. Normally, we would be somewhere at CES, hanging out in person, probably at a bar, recording the show. But this year, like last year, we were not physically there. And so, yeah, we're doing this remotely. But we're going to be talking about CES all day long, all show long, rather. And it's going to be super fun. As expected, as part of the CES stuff, we're going to be talking a lot about new smart home products. We're going to be talking about Matter, new chips. John Deere has been a presence at CES for the last few years, and they've got some big news, too, to talk about. Samsung, we've got news on the energy resilience front. We've got updates in various technologies like Wi-Fi 6, more from like ultra wideband. And we're also going to hear from our sponsor, Twilio. And there's going to be some crazy robotic news, security system news, just a lot of stuff. So if the smart home's your jam and CES technology news is your jam, this is the show for you. First, I'd like to start off with a message from another one of our sponsors. This week's sponsor is Silicon Labs. And Silicon Labs invites you to the open house of their new 3D smart home experience. You could take a self-guided virtual tour to explore cutting-edge smart home technology, review the unique benefits of each wireless protocol, and learn how to connect those ecosystems. As you tour the house, you'll be able to learn about wireless solutions connecting each device, read real-world case studies, and gain access to resources to jumpstart your smart home device development. You can visit that at Welcome In at solutions.scilabs.com/homes. And I do recommend it. It's actually pretty cool. Moving right along to news, Kevin. Matter, as expected, the big news at CES. And I'm just going to say, for those who may not be familiar with Matter, welcome to the show. And Matter is a smart home interoperability protocol that was first created back in December of 2019 by Amazon, Google, Samsung, and Apple, all getting together and being like, you know what, our devices need to be way more interoperable because people are so confused. They don't know what to buy to work with what. And it's taken the whole system down. So we had expected Matter to be out in 2021. Did not happen. It's delayed. The formal launch of the SDK for the protocol is going to be launched, hopefully, I was hoping sometime between March and June of this year. Fingers crossed.
I hope it's sooner than that.
Oh, no, it's not going to be sooner than that. It's definitely going to be in Q2 or mid 2022.
Well, that's okay because we saw momentum at CES for Matter. And
tons.
Yeah. Probably the biggest news concerning Matter out of CES is Amazon's news. And Amazon has been, compared to all the other partners here, has been very quiet about Matter, or relatively quiet. However, at CES this week, they did introduce their updates to their SDK and developer tools to support Matter, which is awesome. That's a commitment. They've finally publicly made it, I guess I should say. They are going to take the 4th generation Echo, and that will actually become a thread border router, which is related but not necessarily required for Matter.
Yeah, we should interject here. Sorry, Kevin, I know you've got more, but
yeah.
Matter is going to use Wi-Fi for big data transfers and Thread for low power, small data transfers, like data coming off of sensors and that sort of thing. So to get the stuff from the Thread network to the Wi-Fi network, there's a device called the Thread border router.
Right. And it's not, if you're not familiar with these, when we say router, it's not really like a home ISP router. I look at it more as a bridge to take the data from your devices on the Thread network and get them onto your home network and or to the internet.
Exactly. And it's a hub, but it's actually a hub disguised as a useful product.
Yes. It's a hub I don't mind because I'm not a fan of hubs, but basically it's built into specific products, so it's not a standalone hub.
So the 4th generation Amazon Echo device If you have Thread devices, once that's updated, your Thread devices will be able to seamlessly work with that and communicate back to the internet, which is fabulous.
Right. No new hardware there. You just get an update and you can still use it as a Zigbee hub if you do today, or even if you don't, it's available to you. That doesn't change. But there's no true like standalone hub here that we're talking about. It's built in again, like I said, to certain products, such as just a few smart plugs that support and can be the Thread border router.
My Nanoleaf Elements are a Thread border router.
Yes, yes. In fact, speaking of Nanoleaf, might as well, since we're talking about Matter and Thread in particular, Nanoleaf has said that at CES that they would have a firmware upgrade planned for the first quarter of this year that will enable the Nanoleaf shapes, lines, and elements products to be Thread border routers. And that makes sense because for a device to be a border router on the Thread network, it really needs to be plugged in all the time. It's not battery-based devices, sensors and such can't be border routers because if the batteries go out, you've lost your communications between your Thread and your Wi-Fi network.
Well, and Wi-Fi is such a power suck. But wait a second, I updated my Nanoleaf Elements to become a Thread border router. And by the way, it did break my lights for like 2 weeks. So I'm a little confused by that.
I'm not certain, but here's what I can tell you. I believe this is a two-pronged approach because most of their recent products have already had Thread support, but I don't think it was full Thread support. I think it only worked with their own Thread devices for now. So I believe the firmware update is going to bring everything under the Thread fold.
Got it. Okay. Maybe it'll work.
Maybe.
Okay. But it's not just Amazon. Did we cover all of Amazon's news? There's also the Ring glass break sensor. I don't know if we care about that. We'll throw that under Amazon.
Yeah, it's not Matter Thread, but yeah. But yeah, they have one now.
Yeah. Although, why would you need that? Because all of your Echoes are already listening for glass breaks?
I suspect that this is probably better suited for listening to that kind of thing because you can mount it on the wall next to a window and all that. Your Echoes are pretty much stationary.
True. You're just flooding the market with whatever it needs. Okay, back to Matter. That's the Amazon Matter news. If you're going to build a device for Matter, NXP has launched a chip that supports Wi-Fi 6, Bluetooth 5.0, and 802.15.4, which is the Zigbee protocol, but also the protocol that's going to be used for Thread. So basically, this is a single chip that will support all of these. You will expect to see this chip inside devices that are actually, ready for it, Thread border routers.
Because they have the Wi-Fi.
Exactly. It would be overkill for a sensor, but I believe a lot of products are going to get this in here. And so this is like the next generation.
I was just going to say, this is probably the first of many chips that are going to come out with these tri-band solutions, because if Matter does what we suspect it will, or what it should do, most future devices are going to have, especially like plugged-in devices, will want these three radios.
Yes, I believe Silicon Labs has actually already announced a Matter-compatible SoC as well that supports all three of these. And I don't know if Infineon has yet or not, but if they haven't, they will. So that's the chip support. So this is future generation stuff.
There's also another surprise with Matter over Thread to a new product line.
Which is?
Which is your favorite company, Wemo. Well, now, come on. Let's give them a chance. Give them a chance.
They've just disappointed me, but okay.
Yeah, I know. So they have some new products, new smart plug, smart light switch, smart dimmer. These are coming later this year, and they will have Matter over Thread support.
Yay!
Unfortunately, if you have the older products, the existing versions of these, there's no news on any firmware upgrades. I'm not expecting it personally.
I really doubt it. I mean, many of these products are only Wi-Fi because Wemo was like Wi-Fi only in hardcore Wi-Fi for the longest time. And that's fine.
And you can't do Thread to Wi-Fi if you don't have Thread.
Yeah. Let's see. In other news, Sync, which may be more familiar to y'all as C by GE, but then GE was sold to Savant and renamed Sync, they are announcing 11 smart bulbs, a thermostat, which is an expansion from the lighting category, They're also doing a camera, and they've committed to supporting Matter. And, this isn't really big news, but
Well, the more the merrier. I mean, the only way a standard works is if everybody adopts it. So
adopts the products. And, from a budget perspective, the Sync smart bulbs, they have some really nice features. The software is nice because Savant does well on the software. And the products are not crazy expensive. They're pretty reasonable.
No, I actually bought some about 6 months ago, and I'm thrilled with them. Some of their bulbs, and they work fantastic. Their A19 color bulb and their light strip will be Matter compatible after the standard launches. So there'll be a firmware update. So at least if you get those products now, you've got Matter coming to you whenever Matter arrives.
Yes. And by the way, if you're interested in the Sync Smart Thermostat, that is going to cost you $120. It'll be available in January, so it's a real product from CE. And then the outdoor camera, just so you know, all of y'all love doing local video. You can actually record video and store it locally on an SD card. If you send it to the cloud, there's going to be a subscription. The camera is going to launch in February, and a wired version will cost $100, and the battery version will cost $130. So that's if you just want to go all in on a Sync home. But soon we won't have to think like that because Matter will make it much easier. Although Matter does not support cameras.
Well, not necessarily soon. Not soon enough.
Okay. I'm like, this year. I
want my
Kevin.
Matter. I want more thread too.
Okay. What else do we have on the Matter front? Anything?
I think that's most of the big news on that front.
Okay. You want to transition to HomeKit stuff since you've been doing the HomeKit stuff?
I would love to because I'm happy. I'm happy because HomeKit, which I did switch over to almost a year ago, and I'm still building out my system. A, it's working well for me, but B, more importantly for everybody else, because you don't care about my house, the product line is starting to expand quite a bit at CES this year. So one of the things is that I'm a big fan of is HomeKit Secure Video, which came out in 2019. And if you're not familiar with it, I totally understand. It is basically encrypted video from your webcams that goes to iCloud. Apple does not have access to the video, so it's private and secure, but not too many. Well, I don't want to say not too many. I'd say it's taken a long time for device makers to adopt HomeKit Secure Video, probably because they want to charge you for their cloud and storing the video, but they can't do that with HomeKit Secure Video. So first up, again, Wemo. This really surprised me. They have a new smart video doorbell available for pre-order. It is $249.99, shipping in February or March. So it's got both 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi, which is awesome.
Multi-band.
Yep, and it's got a really wide 178-degree field of view. So that's exciting. I don't think I would buy one because I don't really want to spend that much on a doorbell, and I have a really nice HomeKit Secure Video doorbell already.
The Logitech one?
The Logitech, yes, which actually was well over $200. So, I mean, it's comparable. I shouldn't complain about the price. It is comparable. Here's another one. This shouldn't surprise you in terms of HomeKit support, but maybe it surprises people because of the type of product it is. Eve has a new outdoor cam, also $249.95, so 4 cents cheaper. It's coming in April. Only 157-degree field of view, but I think that's fine for an outdoor camera. The big deal here is HomeKit Secure Video, and it's got a built-in floodlight, and therefore they're saying it's the first HSV or HomeKit Secure Video camera with a spot or floodlight. So first time for that. Yay. Only 2.4 gigahertz though.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
so I don't know that I would go there.
And that would be because you're worried about transmission delays and Wi-Fi, or are you worried about getting it on the network because multi-area?
Getting it on the network is tricky, but with the Eros that I use, I tend to work around that. They let you turn the 5 gigahertz network off for 15 minutes to add other devices. But even so, once those devices are added, every so often they act flaky and get disconnected. Like my June oven, for example, every 2 months, I feel like I have to re-add it.
Wi-Fi is a painful beast.
We're putting so many things on Wi-Fi too.
Oh, hold on. We're going to talk about that later. Don't get ahead of
Okay, I'm
yourself.
holding on.
But while we're on Eve, I was really excited about the smart blinds. The motion blinds is what they're called. I didn't know if you would be excited about that or not.
I actually am. And this, I don't want to say maybe it was pre-announced, but these are already available in certain places in Europe. So we kind of know about these, but now you can start going to retailers. I forget who they're working with, one of the blind companies, to pick your patterns, fabrics, and sizes, and you can get the Eve smart blinds. These I really like because they're battery powered. I don't want to plug in my blinds. I'm running out of outlets in my house. And I like that you can recharge the batteries without taking them out. There's a USB-C input that you can recharge the batteries every so often.
Yeah, and I talked to Eve about these. I will say, here's the pros and cons of this. I have some Somfy blinds that are battery powered as opposed to the outlet, and they are rechargeable. And Somfy spent so little on this that the place where you plug it in is not reinforced enough. And it's already starting to, like, the little prongs are getting a little bent and it's hard to like charge. So I'm interested in trying the Eve ones just to see if it's a cleaner setup for them.
I don't know if you'll be able to because I think these are HomeKit only.
I have an iPad, Kevin.
Oh, now you want in on the HomeKit fun. I see.
Eve is very much behind Matter. And when I talked to Jerome Gecko, the CEO, he was pro Matter. He did put up a little caveat that I thought was interesting. He was like, look, once you update your devices to Matter, it's such a big firmware update, you can't go back. And he is concerned that some of the features in Eve devices aren't going to be supported by the Matter standard. So he's trying to push for things like energy monitoring as part of the plugs to be part of the Matter standard. So that's worth noting. I think for 90% of people using smart home devices, that won't be a concern. But for the hardcore users, you may want to wait a little bit and see what the experience is like if you care about some of these features in your products.
Agreed. One more thing to note, what I like about all of the Eve products, including this one, it's all locally run. It's not going out to a cloud where you have to wait for the command to be interpreted that says, shut my blinds in the kitchen, wait for the response to come back, and then have the blinds go down or the lights or whatever it is you're using of their products. So that to me is a big plus.
Yeah. All right. So that's the Eve stuff. I know you've been shopping for a HomeKit compatible lock.
And I'm so glad I waited. This one's going to cost me if I decide to take the plunge. But Schlage announced their Encode Plus Smart Wi-Fi Deadbolt. And it does work with all of the ecosystems, Amazon, Google, and Apple HomeKit. But if you're a HomeKit user, or I should say an iPhone or Apple Watch user, the big deal here is that you can store your key lock, and I'm putting the air quotes in key lock because it's digital, in the Apple Wallet app. And therefore, you can just tap your iPhone to the lock to lock it or unlock it. And that also applies to my Apple Watch.
Ooh.
$300, though, when it comes out.
And do we know when it's coming out?
They only said spring, and that's Northern Hemisphere spring, just for people who are in the South.
I don't know what that means. Oh, that means not March.
No.
What does that mean?
It does mean March. It means if you live in the Southern Hemisphere, your spring is our fall, and you have to wait even longer.
Okay, I got you. No, I'm just like, wait. Because, I moved from a warm climate to like a climate with seasons. And in my world, spring starts after February. But in like cold places, March is also not a spring month, even though you associate it with spring.
Just a little behind the scenes, Stacey and I are 3 time zones away typically, and we can't even get that straight. So I'm not surprised this came up.
Yeah, we're very good at some things.
And there's only 2 hemispheres to deal with. You'd think it would be easier.
I'm like, I've been to Australia.
And they're going to get it in the fall, I guess.
Yeah, okay, but I get you. Okay. All right, I feel like there's one.
There's one more. Another surprise to me.
Before we leave the locks, I just want to note that Level is the other HomeKit available lock, but I don't think it works with HomeKey.
I don't think yet it does. When Apple announced the HomeKey support, level may have said, yeah, we're going to support it, but it's not available yet. I presume they will.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, if they have NFC in there.
They do. I believe they have NFC in at least one of their locks. They also use Bluetooth. There's a lot in those locks. It's crazy.
Well, either way, I'm glad I waited. Oh, I almost forgot. The other reason I like the Schlage Encode Plus, aside from everything we mentioned, it's got a keypad outside, which is what I have now. And we use that all the time. Now, I don't necessarily need the keypad if I have my digital key, but we do have key codes for neighbors to feed the cats and things like that. So
yeah, you always want to keep
yes.
I always want a keypad because then I can just be like, oh, I don't have my phone. So you know me and my lack of phone 90% of the time. So.
Oh, I'm well aware. Oh yeah.
It's like, where's Stacy? I have no idea, and I may never hear from her.
Okay, so there's one more surprise. I did not expect this company to take the HomeKit plunge. TP-Link.
Oh, the Casa brand for most of us, but they are really doing it.
They are, and in fact, they have a new brand just for HomeKit called Tapo or Tapo, Tapo. They will have to start a HomeKit compatible 1100 lumen bulb, a 3-outlet plug, smart plug that is, an RGB light strip, and a dimmer switch. They will follow that up with a smart hub, and I'm not sure what that's going to do yet, a motion sensor, button, and door window sensor. So all these products should be HomeKit compatible as they arrive in 2022.
That's weird because they also are they're a member of the Matter working group. So I'm like,
well, maybe when they decided to do that, they said, let's just do the HomeKit thing.
Huh. All right. Yay for them. And then the other...
Yay for me.
Yay for you. That's true. I'm like, who cares about you, Kevin? Let's get to the stuff I care about. I'm still running Madam A, which is Amazon's digital assistant, and Google in my house. And it's fun and exciting. So I get a bunch of new products thanks to it being CES as well. Christmas for Stacy.
Yay.
One of my favorite products of all time was probably announced, like 5 years ago at CES. It was the Lenovo Smart Display for Google Assistant.
And we still have them and use them.
Yeah, I still do. I love that thing. I was going to say the mic is not great. It's not the best at picking up, but I love the size of the display. It still functions. And
the design is nice. It's got a bamboo looking back.
Yeah, I like it. It's in my kitchen. I also have the Nest displays as well, but they're all right. They're all right. Anyway.
It's okay. It's okay.
They also launched a bunch of Google smart alarm clocks that were smaller and cute. And now this year they're announcing they've got a Madam A version of the Lenovo Smart Clock Essential. Comes in gray and a very not sparkly, but a very, eye-catching red. And this is notable simply because they haven't really been working with Madam A for their devices. So
no, they've been pretty much all in on Google Home since that first smart display came out. They've added Google support to a lot of their laptops and whatnot. But yeah, so this is new for them. The smart clock itself is pretty much the same as last year's that works with Google, but they and it's $59.99 if you do want it. But they added an optional charging dock, which is kind of neat. The smart clock sits on the charging dock, and the dock is plugged into the wall. But as part of the dock, there's a Qi-compatible wireless charging pad.
Oh, for your phone.
Yeah, for your phone.
Okay, nice.
Which is what's going to be on your nightstand next to your smart clock at night.
Mine is not. No surprise to you.
Oh my goodness.
All right. You can't roll over in the morning or the middle of the night and have your smartphone next to you because you'll check it and then it just wreaks havoc with your sleep patterns, Kevin.
Mine is out of reach. It's at the far end of my nightstand.
Oh, well.
That works too.
Okay. Yeah. Mine is in a completely different room of the house.
Stacy puts hers in a Faraday cage in the basement.
I wrap it in foil and then I stick it in a Faraday cage. Okay. Also, for the lighting people, Senglid, which is a great brand and lots of people are very excited about it. They're relatively inexpensive. They do a lot of cool things with their light bulbs. It's like a light bulb plus a speaker, a light bulb plus an IR sensor, just a bunch of stuff. They're bringing really long string lights available. They're also doing a Wi-Fi portable lamp. So think of like the Hue Go lamp. And those are going to support both Madam A and Google.
Yeah, the string lights, I immediately thought of like a light strip, but it's not that because this is 48 feet long. So this would be like the long wire that with lights every foot and a half that you wrap around maybe a fence or something. It's RGB, has Wi-Fi built in, and again, yes, works with Madame A and Google.
Yeah, well, and aren't they're talking about putting them like around these are the outdoor ones. They're also doing light strips for the TV.
They are, and what these are similar to the Hue Play, and actually now Nanoleaf actually supports this too,
Yeah.
where you can sync your lights, like ambient lights or your regular lights, to whatever's playing on your TV or your computer.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. So that's out there, and Abode in the security front has a new very cheap wireless video doorbell. It's $79.99, and then they've got new colored bulbs, and they hadn't had light bulbs, have they?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah. So for them, I was like, it's so confusing now who's got what, but in a way that's great. It still feels like it feels a little weird because with Matter, who makes your light bulb shouldn't matter, right? But everyone, which is maybe why everyone's launching their own light bulbs, because they're just like, just do it.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, everybody wants their brand in the home. Part of me says that a lot of these products, people probably may feel, or some people may feel, it's kind of more of the same. And I really think that in a way it is because of the pandemic starting last year and the chip shortage. Kind of feel like 2021 was almost a lost year, so to speak. And also because we're still waiting on Matter.
And I also think right now what we're seeing, because if you're a manufacturer of products, with Matter coming out, what you're going to encounter is commodification of your base level functionality. Because with Matter, it's going to be like every device will have the same data format for I'm a light bulb, here are my color changes. So you can light bulbs become interchangeable. So the software experience running on top of that becomes more important. So I expect like Hue and Nanoleaf to invest in like both cool form factors, but more importantly, like scenes and special like features around lights that go above and beyond like turning them on and off and changing the color. So I think what we're going to see and what we're waiting on is once Matter's widespread, like next year at CES, it's going to be like a huge software innovation for all of these companies. So they're just laying the hardware groundwork today.
Exactly.
And I don't know if this matters. Oh, sorry. Matter is difficult here. In the smart kitchen space, Panasonic has added Madame A to one of its microwave ovens. So basically you talk to the microwave, instead of using the popcorn button, you tell it to make popcorn. Instead of like remembering that it takes X amount of time to do a baked potato in the microwave, you just tell it, bake potato, microwave the baked potato, and it will automatically happen. It's like the June oven, but for a microwave.
Yeah, it is and it isn't, because I fail to see why any microwave oven needs a voice assistant. I get it on the June, because with the June, I preheat that oven by voice. Like I'm in my home office right now, and when I have lunch, I'll be sitting here and I'll just tell my assistant to preheat the oven, and then I'll go downstairs in 15 minutes or whatever. With a microwave oven, you don't preheat, you don't leave food in it and then say, now cook it. And that's why I struggle with this, but I know people buy the microwave ovens with Madame A. I mean, Amazon's got its own. I just don't see it.
Well, it's the same thing. Like, you know how the smarts on the June, like how it recognizes your food, the camera is like, hey, is this? And then it's like, it knows how to cook it. Basically, instead of a camera inside the microwave, you're just using your voice to tell it what's in the microwave.
Yeah. And that's not enough of a benefit for me to buy it.
Maybe it's because you know how long to make a baked potato in a microwave. I actually don't, because I only bake them in the oven. But so this way I don't have to like Google
when
to
it's
find
crispy, it's done.
Yeah, but this way I don't have to Google how long you start baking it. I mean, like, I think about people who don't have a baseline for how long to like reheat soup. So
it's 2022. Come on, people.
Defrost a pound of ground beef. I mean, whenever I try to defrost anything in my microwave, I'm pressing buttons like, and I don't even know what they're like. What is this? And I have to go look at the little code sheet and be like, 2 is beef, okay? And then it's like, how many pounds? And I'm like, Anyway,
a little more HCI, human computer interaction.
Exactly. Okay. It's just it's a shortcut. But yeah, I mean, not everyone's going to buy it, but some people will.
Some people are. So.
And actually, speaking of appliances, what's also kind of a big deal in the smart home is the launch of this group called the Home Connectivity Alliance, which is several big names in the appliances industry. So Samsung, Haier, which owns GE Appliances, American Standard, they do plumbing and toilets, Electrolux, Train, and a Turkish company called Arçelik, who does like the Beko brand of devices. They've created this, it's basically like Matter for appliances. And the goal here is to create data models for, it's about 13 different types of appliances like washing machines, refrigerators, air conditioning units, dehumidifiers, humidifiers, just tons of vacuums, robotic vacuums, ovens, cooktops, range hoods, water heaters, and televisions, which is a little bit interesting. So basically, the goal here is just to create the organization. There's nothing coming out anytime soon. They're opening this up for other companies to join and talk about what kind of use cases. These use cases will be cloud to cloud. They will not be local. But the benefit here is like twofold. One, you buy appliances like once every 7 to like 15 years, depending on the appliance, right? And you want to be able to update these features, even if, it's an older device in the home. And two, most people don't buy all Samsung appliances or all Whirlpool appliances, right? You mix and match. This way, you'll be able to have, washers and dryers from different brands to communicate with one another. And you might be like, why do we care? There's one like feature sets for the devices themselves. So like if I have a washer and I say it's a delicate load, right? I'm running a delicate load on my washer. When I switch it to the dryer can then be like, oh, that was a delicate load. She probably wants this dried on low. And it might automatically offer that, right? Which would be really nice.
Sure.
Two, many of these devices are huge electricity consumers in the home. And we could start seeing standards on how they share their load usage and ways to manage that to basically use the available electricity resources within the home without having to upgrade panels. And I think that's really exciting.
I do too, but I have one thought that, I'm going to kill it right here by saying I'm going to put a wrinkle in this since you were just talking about dryers. I feel like this should be part of Matter. It should be a subgroup of Matter, a working group within Matter.
I think the reason it's not, and Samsung's a member of both, is because that's way too complicated. And Matter is also going to be local. So Matter has the local components with Thread and running things locally in the home. And this is only cloud to cloud.
So let me extend that question then. Making it cloud to cloud is probably more expensive because they're going to have to put Wi-Fi chips.
Well, they're putting Wi-Fi chips in most new appliances anyway.
So why not just add a chip that supports something that Matter works with?
Wait, what are those new tri-band chips?
One of those new tri-band chips. And just have the devices talk to each other. I mean, why add latency?
Yeah. These are good questions. And I'm actually going to have Yoon Ho Choi, the president of HCA and the head of IoT business planning at Samsung Electronics. He's going to be our guest next week. So he's going to be able to answer these questions because I also have those questions. You're not alone, Kevin.
Okay.
But I am still excited. I would like to see, LG, Whirlpool, other companies get involved here, and maybe we will. Now, before we continue on with our CES News Bonanza, we must take a quick break for a message from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Twilio.
Hey everybody, we are taking a quick break from the Internet of Things podcast for a message from our sponsor. This week's sponsor is Twilio. And many of you might know Twilio as a provider of APIs for SMS, voice, and other customer communication channels. But Twilio also has IoT offerings. So I have with me here Elle Grossenbacher, who is a principal product marketing manager for Twilio IoT. How's it going, Elle?
I'm doing great, Stacey. Thank you so much for having me on.
Yeah, so Twilio has this IoT SIM as one of its offerings, and it's the Super SIM. And everyone claims these days that they have global coverage with a single IoT SIM. So do you. So how exactly is Twilio different?
Yeah, so here at Twilio, we actually believe that we are the only vendor that can truly deliver on that global SIM promise. Now, let me explain why we feel that way. Many IoT connectivity companies leverage EUICC or eSIM technology to offer multiple carriers on a single SIM. We do that through an approach known as multi-IMSI. So you can think of multi-IMSI as several global roaming identities on a single SIM. That's different from having several carrier SIM profiles on a SIM. With multi-IMSI, it's still just one profile, but you get access to hundreds of networks through that one profile. And you get multiple top-tier carriers in a single country. So for example, with Twilio IoT in the United States, you get T-Mobile and AT&T and soon Verizon. Or in the United Kingdom, you get Vodafone, EE, and Three, among others. So what does this mean for our customers? They can expand into any country with a single SIM. We've already had really positive feedback from customers around fast time to market, scalability, and streamlined manufacturing, which is thanks to a single SKU that would not be possible without a truly global single SIM. What's more, our customers get just one bill and only have to go through a single mobile core network, which we developed ourselves.
Very cool. So what can customers do if they want to give the Twilio Super SIM a try?
Well, they're in luck. We offer a free trial. We encourage anyone who wants to try Super SIM to go to twill.io/freesim to have a look. That's twill.io, as in Twilio, /freesim. There you will find tips and pointers to more product information about Super SIM if you want to do a little more research on your own before you give it a try.
Okay, moving right along. We've still got more, which is why we don't have a guest this time, because, all right, let's move to precision agriculture. People got very excited about this news, and I kind of find it a little puzzling, but John Deere, which has been at CES with these amazing, like truly amazing displays of like ginormous farming equipment, starting in 2015, I think may have been their first year there. But again, very impressive displays at CES. They've been showing off their AI stuff. So, basically the ability to put cameras on like combines to like analyze the wheat or soybeans or whatever they're picking and tracking to make sure that it's picking the right stuff and it's getting separated properly. Like all of that has been in their tractors for years, along with like GPS. But this year they have launched an AI tractor that basically powers itself. What do I mean? It drives itself. It doesn't need a human. It can plow the fields without a person. And people are like, oh my God, this is huge. This is world changing. This is a tractor that's going to both plow the soil and sow seeds. And it's going to do all of this autonomously without a person driving it. And the farmer can not be in the cab. They can just be like sending instructions via the smartphone. And people are losing their minds. They're like, oh my gosh, does this make farmers obsolete? And I found this really interesting because, let's see, back in 2020, which was the last CES we attended, I actually took a spin around the North Hall on a John Deere tractor that was, I wasn't driving it really. It was autonomously driving itself using GPS. And let me tell you, John Deere's GPS is phenomenal. It is precision GPS that takes into account the plate tectonics of the earth because they have to sow within an inch. So this is not like GPS like you or I use. This is like insanely precise GPS that they've built all themselves. In the cabs of those tractors and their autonomous combines and harvesters, they have TVs and Netflix and all kinds of stuff. So the farmer has basically been sitting in this equipment, quote unquote, monitoring it for a while, but they don't have to drive it, which is great because it's really hard to drive a giant machine over bumpy fields accurately. And it takes a lot of focus and it's kind of sucky for the farmer.
Yes. So I can see why people are excited about this because you can't scale humans. You can't scale farmers. This lets a farmer go do something else productive instead of sitting there and, having to steer something in straight lines all day. It's just not a good use of their time.
Yeah, and they can be, I think there's a lot more value in pulling a person from a machine and having them do valuable things like figure out like the pricing for their materials or focus on, especially with things like climate change and needing to be more productive over time, creating strategies around that. I mean, still, there will be like jobs that are lost, but then there's also going to still be plenty of farmers picking crops and doing things, because right now, even though we talk about precision agriculture a lot, it's only a few crops when it comes to the actually harvesting it that are actually that are smart enough at the right now, because you've got to train it on every crop, right? So I think this is great. John Deere, I will also say, is the business model here is tough. If you're going to buy one of these tractors, they're like $800,000. Only John, that you're buying basically something you don't own. And we talk about this a lot on the show, but like John Deere, people have to repair it. You've got to pay for the software upgrades. Like there's a lot that's going to go into this that is different from the way farmers used to buy and maintain their equipment. So, okay, moving right along from John Deere's news, what else do we have, Kevin?
Something that you'll like because you like energy harvesting.
Oh, I do. What is it?
Well, it's kind of a limited product because it only works with Samsung TVs, but it's their new remote. They came out last year with a TV remote called the Echo Remote that charges from solar energy. And now they have added RF harvesting capabilities. Now, they haven't gone into details, but basically it's just collecting radio waves and converting them to energy, and those radio waves are from your wireless network.
Oh, very sweet. And I would say, I would buy it even if it's limited. I still own the Philips Hue Touch giant puck that, turns your lights on and off, and it's Piezo powered, and I freaking love that thing. So all in. And it only works with Samsung Wi-Fi routers?
Samsung TVs.
Okay, but it can power from any router?
They didn't share details on frequencies or anything, so I'm assuming any router.
Nice. All right. Okay. In energy resiliency and management, which we love talking about here on the show, because I think it's a huge trend right now, thanks to A, people working from home and always needing power, and B, climate change making having access to power a little bit more unreliable.
Challenging.
Yeah, so Schneider Electric, they've announced a bunch of new product like light switches and stuff built on sustainable plastic, and sure, fine. But what I'm excited about is they are updating their Wiser Energy Center software, and they'll have the Wiser platform is based off of a box that you install in an electrician will install in your circuit box, and it manages the energy consumption and use in your home. It both tracks it and starts to manage it. What tracking has historically been what it mostly does, but now the update will allow you to switch from your utility to alternative power sources, including power, solar, or generators. It lets you use those in an outage. It lets you create a virtual critical load panel for your backup power, which means you can use your phone to be like, when the power goes out, I would like these things to work, as opposed to those. Used to be you'd have to like wire that sort of thing to your box permanently. So this is a kind of interesting thing. So if you wire your renewable to the Wiser device, it will handle that for you. And then it lets you monitor and control your smart home electricity. Yay. And hopefully one day it will work with either the HCA and Matter, and then things will get really interesting. Other news. Wi-Fi 6 has been around for a while. The Wi-Fi Alliance just announced that they have created the Wi-Fi 6 certification release 2. We care about that at the IoT because it adds more capacity for device uploading. So your smart cameras, all of that will have, it basically adds more MIMO beams, more space capacity for.
You can never have too much MIMO.
More MIMO on the uplink, and that's just because you've got more devices that are sending data. Usually, historically, we've been big consumers of internet data, and now we're starting to generate it ourselves. It also improves some of the power management features associated with it, which is good for the IoT because a chunk of those devices run on battery, and also we just don't want to use as much energy. So, yay! That's the update on Wi-Fi. And you'll see that roll out over time to routers and existing routers and devices. Okay, Kevin, we talked about locks, but how would you feel about getting an entire smart door for your home?
If it was like Star Trek Enterprise, I would say, yeah, that'd be cool.
It is not.
Okay.
I don't know if your condo association would approve that.
Yeah. This is actually something I believe was shown off or announced at CES last year. I think it was announced. Now it's being actually shown. It's the Masonite Mpower smart door. It's neat because all the components, the wires are all built into the door and the frame.
Yes. And we actually talked to Corey Cerise back in April about this door plan because this is part of Masonite's. And Corey actually used to work at Chamberlain. So he was the brains behind their MyQ efforts. And now he's at Masonite doing his stuff. And basically, they're building a door with integrated power. Right now, they've got a deal with Yale and Ring. So it integrates a Yale lock and a Ring doorbell, video doorbell, into the door itself. Eventually, you could see other products get it integrated in there so you could pick whatever you wanted to put in there. And they just showed this off, and I thought it was worth mentioning, one, because people seem really excited about it, and two, this is such an interesting strategy to me.
Yeah. I kind of feel like this is more of a new home type of product. It has to be professionally installed.
They actually, when I talked to them back in April, they expected about 60% to come from home renovations. And the reason was because we've been stuck at home in the pandemic so long, and people have a lot of savings built up for that. They thought that they could launch this as part of those renovations, right? They could build that in there. Because if you've got a GC, there's usually power near your front door to power your doorbell. So just having a GC run that wire to the door itself, it's actually a module that connects to the door and runs through the hinge. It's not a big ask. So
No. And if you are going to replace a front door, you're going to replace the frame around it as well. So I guess it makes sense, but this is not a quick installation project you might do yourself. You could if you know what you're doing. But yeah, it's definitely a different market.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of a sense, it gives me a sense that we are upgrading, like in commercial doors, you've had electricity running to those doors and sensors and all kinds of features into commercial doors for quite some time. It's kind of an upgrade of the entire home infrastructure. And I think we'll see that, especially like if Matter succeeds, because it's less risk to build intelligence into your home infrastructure because there's going to be, a standard, hopefully with longevity, that will work with it forever. So
yeah, it's not replacing one-off devices. Now it's actually building it into the home itself.
Exactly. That was way more.
Oh, well, that's okay. And I only mention that because all these modules are replaceable.
Yes.
So as tech gets better, you may be able to swap out for a new lock or a new motion sensor or so on.
Exactly. All right. Let's talk about smart displays because Samsung has a smart display that you're not impressed.
Well, okay. Let me tell everybody what it is first, and then I'll explain why I'm not impressed. And right off the bat, this is not coming to the U.S. currently. Samsung has shown off, I don't think they've announced it, but they've shown off something called the Samsung Home Hub. And it's coming to Korea in the first half of the year. It basically looks like one of their Samsung Galaxy tablets on a little swivel stand, like a round swivel stand, so you can turn it around and so on, along with a dedicated app that is your smart display. Okay, that's nice. We all want this. But I'm kind of like, you could actually pin any single app on an Android tablet to be the only app that runs until you decide you don't want to pin it there anymore. So you could run the Samsung SmartThings software and have that home hub on your own Android tablet. But details are kind of limited, so maybe there's more here that I don't know about.
I think it's nice because a lot of people don't want to deal with doing this themselves. So if Samsung prepackages something for them, yay. I mean, this is not for people like you. It's probably for people, maybe not even like me. It might be for like my in-laws. So I think there is big demand. Like one of the biggest disappointments I had with the big Echo Show device is it doesn't act as like a giant screen for managing my smart home, which I thought would be pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rapid stuff. Aquara. Mr. HomeKit, tell me what they're doing. This is not CES news.
Yes, they are getting ready to launch their next generation occupancy sensor. It's going to launch in China first, so no date on the rest of the world. But basically what's neat about this, it's using 60 gigahertz and millimeter wave for the person detection. So, it's not a standard passive infrared sensor, which is typically used. They're using 60 gigahertz millimeter wave with a horizontal angle of 120 degrees and real-time dynamics within a 5-meter radius, they say. So interesting because it's a new approach to sensing presence.
Yes, and one that we heartily endorse. Arlo.
Yes.
Back to CES news. Arlo has a new security system that they're showing off at CES. They've created the mother of all sensors. This is a pill-shaped device. It detects motion, open, close, tilt, water leaks, light and temperature changes, and can listen for smoke and CO2 alarms. This is 1.1 inches wide. It runs on a battery. It's kind of crazy to me that they just jammed all this. So you can buy as many of those as you feel like you need. And then they go with the modular hub that is also a central controller and a keypad. It has a siren, a smoke and CO alarm, or carbon monoxide alarm sensor, and it also has NFC, so you can tap to arm and disarm, which is pretty cool.
I love the idea of consolidating all these sensors into a giant Tylenol pill, because that's what it looks like. But I wonder how much these are going to cost, just because I know it was what I pay for sensors individually.
Yeah, I gotta think they're going to be like between $50 and maybe $80. I mean, that's a lot of electronics that are stuck in there.
I think you're low, and I hope I'm wrong.
Okay, we'll see. Yeah, so who knows what that's going to cost. And then you also have to subscribe to Arlo's monthly subscription plan if you want actual monitoring. Finally, I was excited about this. This doesn't fit with anything except for maybe, the Amazon, we'll see if it ever launches, Astro Robot. This is a home assistive robot that was launched from a company called Labrador Systems. And I like this because it's basically, as a parent, it reminds me of those Montessori stools that you can buy for your kids. And your kids can like clamber up this stool/table thing and stand on it and be your height to sit at counters and stuff. But this looks like a roving side table robot, and you can just put things on it. You can lean on it. And I think it's kind of more practical. Like it has a more interesting use case, and I could see them expanding out of the assistive market. But compared to something like the Amazon device, I just think this is a little bit more interesting because it has a really narrowly defined market that they can explore in before going big, if that makes sense.
Yeah. No, it's definitely, there's certainly a market to help people move things around their home. Older people, for example, or whatever other challenges are going on. And I like this. They just raised $3.1 million in seed funding. And although they announced it today, it's not planned to be in full production until the second half of 2023. There will be beta units available earlier. So this is a ways out. But, like my wife has been kind of laid up with a stress fracture on her knee. And to reach for things or move around to get something or carry something, this would be ideal for her. She could put the laundry basket on it and have it go down the hall or whatever it might be. So I definitely appreciate what they're doing here.
Yeah, and they actually plan to build like a network of devices that will also work with this. So I thought it was interesting they were going to offer like a fridge so someone could prep meals for someone, store the trays in the fridge, and then the Labrador robot could go to the fridge and retrieve them. Again, this is a big vision, but there's going to be a huge demand for this. So I think it's a good idea. I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. So it's worth mentioning. And that concludes this segment of the show. We don't have a guest, but we couldn't leave without talking to you, our listeners, on the IoT Podcast Hotline, which, as y'all know, is sponsored by Very. Very is a fully distributed IoT engineering firm that partners with its clients to build systems for smart manufacturing, smart energy and utilities, consumer electronics, and connected wellness. You can discover what Very's multidisciplinary teams can do for you at verypossible.com/services. And it's the beginning of the month, so we have to announce an IoT podcast hotline winner. That's right. Every month we do a drawing where we pick from our callers and pick a winner, and then we send them something cool. The winner of the December drawing will win a Lutron Cassetta hub and an outdoor outlet from Lutron. And that winner is Jeff. Yay, Jeff. All right. And for the month of January, if you call us at 512-623-7424, we don't know what you're going to be entered to win yet because CES is kind of crazy, and we'll figure that out and tell you next week. But you should start calling because, who doesn't mind free stuff? It'll be something good. All right. This week's voicemail is from Aaron from Indiana, and he has a question about vampire devices.
Hi, Kevin and Stacey. My name is Aaron from Indiana. I had a question about vampire devices. That was a big thing with VCRs, always throwing power. Are IoT devices becoming better at this? Is there a report that shows which devices are better than others? I'm just curious, trying to be more, energy sustainable in the future, and which devices might help with that. Thank you.
Okay, Aaron, this is actually an easy one. A lot of devices no longer, there was a big worry about vampire devices a couple of years ago. A lot of the components actually use less energy today. They're more modern, use less energy, leak less energy. And a lot of times what happened is they were vampire devices because they wanted the device itself, like your set-top box, computer, to boot up quickly so they would never go fully to sleep. But we're getting better on faster sleep-wake cycles. So all of this has improved, so things are less of a problem. On the IoT side specifically, Kevin has information about some popular IoT devices that may make you feel a little bit better.
Yeah, and I appreciate the question because I grew up with that blinking light on my VCR in the 80s as well. So I know the power drain on older components, but as you said, they're so much better, and we have sleep modes now to keep the power efficiency up, and so the Ambient actually took a smart meter and checked the sleep power on various IoT devices. Maybe not all the devices that you have, but just to give you an idea, like the Apple HomePod Mini, when it's in standby, uses less than a watt, and that's with the microphones on, and half a watt while it's in sleep mode, basically. Google Nest audio speakers are a little bit more power hungry, but still way low, like 1.4 watts with standby. A typical Amazon Echo, 3 watts with standby. So I don't think it's an issue like it used to be, quite honestly. And the other aspect is, what devices in your smart home would you actually not want to be on that you would have no power going to them? Your cameras, you probably want those on because you want those for security. Maybe your smart speakers you don't need on, but again, as we just said, the power drain is very little. So I don't think it's really an issue. I don't think I would worry about it, quite honestly.
And if you're in doubt, many smart plugs have an energy monitoring feature. Eaves, TP-Link has one, Wemo has one. So you can always look for an energy monitoring plug, and if you have a device and you're curious about it, you can always plug that in for a while and then assess how much energy they use. And I think going forward, we're going to see a lot more software that will help manage electricity consumption throughout the home as a whole, based on what you're trying to accomplish, which is a little bit different than what we've had before. That's a long-term trend, though. So it's a good question, and I think monitoring for vampire devices may be less relevant. I think the new trend will be monitoring for like a whole home energy consumption, which will be managed by smarter software talking to your devices.
Right, and distributing the usage of those appliances at different times throughout the day.
Yes. So there you go, Aaron. Hopefully that helps you. And that concludes the IoT Podcast Hotline segment. Remember, you can call us at 512-623-7424 and you'll win something. Or rather, you'll be entered to win something. We just don't know what it is just yet. And since we don't have a guest this week, I feel like, Kevin, it might be time to say goodbye to everybody. Thank you for listening to the show. And make sure you subscribe to our newsletter at www.stacyoniot.com. Thanks for listening.